Episode, what was it? 1012, I believe. I think we're 1012. If I'm wrong, let me know. I'm sure someone will let me know. Welcome back. We are live in Southwest Florida in my backyard today. It's been a crazy morning. I drove to the beach, and you know how I've said that the parking's been it's been filling up before I leave. Well, this morning, the line to even get into Wiggins Pass was over the bridge, like a half-mile long outside of the park. So I knew that meant that I wasn't going to get not only that, but it was going to take too long to get in as well. So I turned around, scrambled to find a space here to get everything done. You know when you scramble like really fast, really hard? Anyway, here we are. If you're joining me live, please say hello. I know a bunch of people have said hello and I missed it. Hi, Joe, Grace, Val, Patricia, Carrie, Donna, Judy, Thea, Judy, Carrie, Karen, Donna, Sean. Good morning, everybody. Steffi, Carrie, good morning. Happy Thursday, aka Friday Eve. Hi, Tina and Lori. Good morning, everybody. Hi, Chris and Kathy. So I have a few things to go over with you this morning. Number one, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but this week is the 50th anniversary of the Godfather Part 1 movie being released in the movies. Godfather came out in 1972. Yes, I will be 50 years old in November, but I'm not yet. I'm still 49. And I even though the movie came out before I was ever able to watch it, I've only watched it as an old movie. It is one of my all-time favorite movies, and I had the amazing pleasure of getting to see it re-released for one day only on the 25th anniversary 25 years ago. And would you believe that I still own the dress that I wore on the 25th anniversary of getting to see it in the theater? And so I've been so excited for the last couple of months anticipating getting to go see the movie for the 50th anniversary in the theater and to wear the same dress. And I've been looking for it and looking for it. I've been looking on Fandango. I've been looking in my local movie theaters. And I found out yesterday that it's not going to be released here in Naples. It's probably going to be released in bigger cities, but it's the closest it's coming is Orlando. It's 3.5 hours away. So I will not be going. I will not be going to see it. So instead, I decided to wear the dress today to show you that I still have this dress. It is the oldest dress that I own. I've had it since, well, I guess 1997. You have seen me wear this dress. It is part of the styling that I used for the Solana knit airy hat. And as you can see, it's a beautiful lace overlay dress. And I'm even wearing the original slip that I bought for it, which is funny because I know we talk a lot about the fact that it's hard to buy slips anymore, and we end up buying, body conscious dresses to wear as slips. Well, this is an actual slip. And I'm wearing it over the dress. I don't know how much of the lace you can see because I'm wearing black over black, but I am so excited that I've kept it all these years. I'm excited to wear it. I would have been more excited to actually wear it to the theater to see it for the 50th anniversary, but I will probably just watch the movie and watch it in my dress today. I'm telling you, I have been so excited about this. And so, yes, I'm obviously super disappointed that it didn't work out, but I think my plan B is okay. So even though I'm younger than someone who would have had the opportunity to see it in the theater, I did get to see it in the theater because it was released for one day only back in the 25th anniversary. Yes, Judy's husband, that's one of the things that Judy's husband and I have in common. One of the many things we have in common is our love of The Godfather. um, so even though I'm too young to have seen it originally in the theater, I was very lucky to get to see it on the 25th anniversary, and I just can't tell you how disappointed I am that I'm not going to be able to see it on the 50th anniversary. However, I did get to see it in the theater once, and that was really cool, and I still have the dress, so I'm going to celebrate by wearing the dress today anyway. The next thing, unrelated, that I wanted to share with you is that I remembered to bring out my Nature of Florida book to show you. And I have popped this into my Amazon shop. Just be forewarned that I've had this book for 15, 16, 17 years, and the cover has changed. So when you see the link in my Amazon shop in the books folder, it is the same book by the same authors. The only difference is that over the years they have changed the cover art. So it's still the same book because I double checked to make sure that it was the same titles, same subtitle, and same authors. And so I'll try to take this with me regularly to the beach so that we can look things up, but I wanted to point out to you, I think Judy said something about the theme song from The Godfather. I can play that on piano. Maybe I'll play it on piano for you guys one day. Okay, so there's stuff about, there's a chapter on land and vegetation, talking about different vegetation. Then there's a chapter on mammals, and see they're color coded here, so you can flip to whichever chapter you want. So this is the chapter on mammals, then birds, then reptiles and amphibians, fish, seashore life, and that includes animals and seashells, which I think we're going to have a lot of fun with down at the beach. We can explore with this book. Then trees and shrubs, and wildflowers. So lots of info. And so then once it tells you, there's a photo or an illustration of each thing, and then a lot of different information about each one. So whether you're interested in Florida or whether you're interested in any state, I'm sure these books exist for any state. Anytime I have had someone move to Florida, I have bought them this book because I do feel like it's such a valuable thing to be able to embrace your new area. When you move somewhere new, it's so fun to have an opportunity to embrace and learn about the area. So I think it's a great gift idea for anybody traveling somewhere or anybody living somewhere. Maybe someone's new to the area, or maybe they just don't know about the area. I think these are wonderful. Nora, that's a great question. Yeah, I'll tell you in a second. Yeah, so that's the book, and we'll explore this more over time, but I wanted to at least point it out today. So Nora wants to know how I learned how to play piano. So I was 8 years old, and my mom took me to some piano lessons from a lady who taught piano in her house, and her husband was a taxidermist, and they both worked out of the house. And so I had to walk, at 8 years old, I had to walk through his taxidermy studio to get inside the house, to get to her piano for the lessons, and it didn't work well for me. I was pretty stressed out walking through his taxidermy shop, watching the animals in progress, getting stuffed, mounted, whatever. And so there came a point shortly after my lesson started where I went to my mom. I said, "Listen, Mom," I said, how do you feel about this? Why don't you continue buying me the books, because we bought the lesson books from the place that sells pianos. I said, why don't you continue to sell me the books, or buy me the books at 8, and I'll continue taking the lessons on my own. Let's see if I can teach myself so I don't have to go back there anymore. And she agreed, and I did, and I've been playing piano since I was 8 years old. However, Nora, my suggestion to you is that when I was 8 years old, it was long before having lots of options for learning. Nowadays, I would highly recommend you just go to YouTube and find a teacher that you like. See, it's really important to not only find lessons, but find teachers that you like. Teachers that Maybe you like the way they speak. Maybe you like the way they teach. Maybe you like how they teach. So you're just going to have to find somebody that you like, but I think it's way more convenient to start with YouTube and then maybe buy some supplemental books so that you can learn how to read sheet music, and then from there buy sheet music for whatever songs you want to learn. I use a website called musicnotes.com where I can get free samples of sheet music and then also purchase and download sheet music that I want to play. But I'm somebody that likes to play sheet music, play an actual song and read the notes. But if you want to learn music theory, all sorts of things you can learn. And I would start with YouTube and go from there. So great question. Yes, Bjorn is here with us this morning. He's, let's go say hi to him. Hi, sweetheart. You listening to the birdies? Can you guys tell how beautiful the birds sound today? The birds are so chatty. How you doing, sweetheart? How you doing? You just want to sit up there? Yeah. You listening to the birdies? Yeah, it's my baby. Yeah, mommy's baby. Okay, I'm gonna go back and talk over here, okay? You can come join me if you want. Okay. Yeah, there's Bjorn. Okay, so now that I got all of that out of the way, I wanted to talk about something else today. You know how I really love talking to you about what you can do with your patterns, and the fact that your patterns actually come with so much more valuable information than just the actual pattern itself. And for an example, I wanted to talk about the Lisa Marie bag. So the Lisa Marie bag, gosh, there's so much good information in here. So first of all, let me just give you a quick rundown of what this is. It's a motif bag that has a top band and a flat bottom added to it, and then a 5-strand rope braid for the handles, okay? But what you can take from this and use it for so many other things are these motifs. So the motif is designed as a square in the round, and then there's also instructions to make a half motif worked back and forth in rows instead of in the round. Okay, that's going to be really important for doing other projects, and we'll talk about that on the board. But also I wanted to point out there's something else really important to learn here as well. Look at, we talked about this the other day when we talked about making your own DIY gradients in motifs. Look at how beautiful and interesting this looks that I changed direction of the colors. So in this one, we went from ecru, turquoise, aquamarine, peacock teal, and chocolate. And then in the motifs adjacent to that one, we went in the opposite direction. So it went from chocolate, peacock teal, aquamarine, turquoise, and ecru. So it went colors A, B, C, D, E, and the colors E, D, C, B, A. Wow, I didn't think I'd get that fast. Anyway, do you see they went in the opposite directions? So it adds so much extra detail because when you're joining them together, you're not joining like colors. If this one A, B, C, D, E and this one went A, B, C, D, E, you'd have color E lining up and be a double border here. Now, is that another option? Of course it is. So experiment with the different looks of things. It's so interesting to see how many different looks you can get from something. And let's even consider this lace is absolutely gorgeous if you wanted to do this in one color, right? You could do this in one color. You could do this in a self-striping yarn so that it just gradient changed, and then you could do them all in one direction or in two directions, or just let the yarn randomly choose. There's a lot of different ways that you could change this just color-wise alone, let alone picking different colors. Picking one color, 2 colors, 3 colors, 4 colors, 5 colors. How about a stash buster? I mean, there's so many different ways that you could combine colors for this. But what I wanted to bring the board out for this morning is to talk about how much value a pattern has when you have a half motif and a square motif. So the fact that the pattern comes with both the half motif triangle and the square motif means you have so many options. So when making a bag, even let's say you wanted to make a smaller bag. Let's say you wanted to do a bag this size, right? You start with half motifs at the bottom so that you can do the big motifs on the diagonal, and then you could end with half motifs up there. See that? So it would be 4 half motifs at the bottom, 4 full motifs here, and then 4 motifs at the top, like if that was the size bag you were doing, okay? But you have information here for doing garments, and you have information here for doing triangular shawls, and obviously rectangular anything. And you could make this a cowl. Let's say you love this as a cowl, then you would skip the base here and you would just do a border here and here. And that would be an incredibly beautiful cowl too, in this full size. But here's something else to consider. Let me get the darkest color I can find. Oh, the black is missing. Maybe purple will be good. Let's see if purple shows up. There, how's that? Is that a pretty good view of the screen? Okay. I can't get the Velcro to line up on this today either. I'm not sure what's going on there. Anyway, let's talk about, I'm gonna show you this for garments, and I'm gonna show you this for shawls. So to do a triangular shawl, there's 2 ways you can do this. Okay, we'll do that one. So let's say you want to keep the motifs as squares. Okay. It's going to take me a minute to draw this out. Give me a second. Okay, so if you wanted to do the motifs as squares instead of diamonds, then you would be putting those half triangle motifs along the outer perimeter, okay? But let's say that you wanted to keep it in diamond formation like in the bag. This is 2 different ways to do the same, use the same motifs. How interesting is this? So instead, I'm going to put X's in all of the half motifs, the triangle half. I'll lift it up again and show you the full, and then to do it in diamond formation, you'd put them at the top edge. But either way, you end up getting smooth sides. So let's go back to the actual sample so I can remind you again what the half and the full is. So these are the half motifs that are done in rows, and these are the square motifs done in the round. So let's turn it sideways, and you can see what it would look like if they look like squares, right? There they are in square formation, and there they are in diamond formation. Does that make sense? Does this make sense? Is this obvious information, or is this helpful information? I'll wait a second to see if there's any questions or comments. Karen, that is exactly why I brought this out today. You know what? There's nothing makes me happier than to see someone say, wow, I've never even thought of that. So if you've already enjoyed this pattern and you already thought it was interesting or valuable, boom, there's more. Good. So it gives you, and that, not just for this pattern, any pattern that has both square and half motifs, you can do this with. Another example would be the Majestic Skies crochet shawl that you can get on my website. That has a half motif and a full motif, so you can do it this way. Lori wants to make a poncho out of this. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because there's a couple of ways you can do that too, and including garments. So I do not know what happened to my board today. Anyway, so let's talk about garments. So you could make a garment with sleeves. I mean, we're just going to talk about simple garments here, not something that's super stylized, something that's just a plain rectangle, no shaping. Remember, you can always, as long as your yarn has nice drape to it, you can add shaping with a belt or a corset ties or whatever. But one thing that's really nice in a garment, having that half motif, is that you can do things like necklines, like that. Those half motifs could come in real handy so that you could create that V-neck line, and then the rest of it would just be the square motifs. Does that make sense? So if you wanted to, you could take this motif and just use the square ones for the body, and you could add 2 triangle ones to create a V-neck if you wanted. If you didn't want to do that, you could do this whole thing in the squares and then just adjust how wide you want your neck hole opening to be. And then as far as a poncho, let's look at a nice big poncho here. We could do this in one of 2 ways as well. We could do this similarly to the bag and one of the triangular shawls, in the respect that we could do those half triangles at the top and bottom so that we could do our motifs on the diagonal. Okay, my size has got a little wonky here. So if you wanted to do a rectangle like this would apply for an Afghan or for a poncho or a body or anything that you want with smooth edges and a flat surface. You would start your first row in half motifs, work in full motifs, and then work half motifs along the bottom edge. Now, this would be assuming that you wanted to if you worked in the round like the Lisa Marie bag. Otherwise, if you're working flat and you still want your edges to be smooth, these half motifs, these would have to be half motifs here too. Does that make sense? Now, if you wanted to do it just the square motifs for a poncho, which would be easier, then you just figure out the size of your motifs and you make as many and join as many together. That would be the easier way, but you know, it's nice to have these options, and they do have totally different looks. So if you wanted to do that as a poncho, an Afghan, a rectangular shawl, lots of reasons to do a 2-dimensional rectangular fabric, right? It could be a scarf, it could be a shawl, it could be an Afghan, it could be the body pieces for sleeves or body of a garment, of a cardigan, of a pullover, a dress, a skirt, whatever. Does anybody have any questions? Wait and see if there's any questions about that. Yep, pillow covers, absolutely. And you could make them if you felt uncomfortable working in the round, like joining them in the round, you could do your pillow covers where each side was flat and you just sew them together so that you could leave the one side open or do the overflap, but you don't have to work in the round to make something like that. You could sew them instead. Kimberly needs a refresher on joining granny squares so they don't look chunky. It definitely depends. It definitely depends on the style, what technique you're using. If you're joining as you go with slip stitches, they're usually a lot flatter than when you sew something together. And also it's the washing and blocking that makes things lie flat a lot better. So you might want to experiment with different techniques and and just experiment with how they look after they're actually finished and washed. A lot of times those bulky seams flatten out. Also, you can, sometimes people add a joining method to create a piped edge. It depends on the look that you're going for. There are so many ways to join things together. Yeah, you could make all sorts of projects. All sorts of projects. And if you decided to not join them at once and save the joining for later, then it's a very portable project also. Yeah, a skirt could definitely be done. Does anybody have any other questions? Yeah, so not just with my patterns, but with any pattern, not just this pattern, but any pattern. If a pattern gives you instructions for working half motifs, meaning a triangle, in conjunction with its full-size square, these are all sorts of different things that you can do with those patterns separate from the actual pattern. So lots of value. Once you have multiple shapes within something, summer tops, yes, for sure. There's a variety of ways you can do tops. Well, this is for a full-size top, but if you wanted to do like a tank top, you could do it more like in the diamond formation. You could do 2 squares. Let's call that, that could be like, you know, where you tied them off. And then I'm going to put dotted lines here. This would be the same way that you do a market bag. Remember when I showed you how you would do a reduced size of this bag as a market bag? It's working in diamond formation, but in the round. And so at the bottom here, you could then decide. So this dotted line means that that motif is folded. Half of it shows in the front, half of it shows in the back. And then at the bottom here, you could decide whether you wanted to leave that edge pointy like that, or you would create half motifs again on the bottom here, like you did here and like you did in the bag here. Okay, so to do that as a tank top, and how many motifs you need is dependent on the size of your motif. I'm going to draw that again with a much smaller motif so you can see. Well, we can just even, I can make them half size. Watch this. Okay, so see, even if you were doing a half-size motif, you would still be starting with squares at the top, and you would still be ending with half triangles at the bottom. Does that make sense? Isn't that interesting that I could actually show you a 50% reduction in motif size, and it's still the same concept. Same thing could be applied here for the shawls as well. It does not matter the size of the motif. What's important here is the fact that you have a full square and a half square or triangle shape so that you can make all of these other different shapes. Yeah, the birds sound so nice today. When I was leaving this morning, I was like, oh, I'd much rather do the show here with the birds, but then I headed to the beach and I couldn't get to the beach. So I'm like, okay, then I do get to share the birds. Could the, what? Yeah, sure, that could be continued as a dress, definitely. And in fact, if you need, as a dress, you would need some more shaping for the lower half. And I think the easiest way to do that would be to play around with your gauge rather than changing the motifs. Whatever size you made these motifs with whatever size hook, I would make the motifs for the lower side where you wanted the more ease for the hips and the legs. I would definitely use a larger hook and try to get a larger motif down there. That would be by far the easiest way to create shaping there. Yes, Kimberly, my brain does not stop. That is true. Oh, I've got some orchid updates for you guys too. Been really bad with my plants lately. I've not been taking really good care of them. But look at all these buds on this one. Look at that. This is one that I thought was dying. Turns out it's not. Check out all the buds on this one. This one hasn't even stopped blooming yet. And it has buds. And then it has buds here, and here, and here, and here. And this one too. This one is enormous. This one still has flowers here. It has buds coming here, 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 and here. Amazing. Yeah. Okay, does anybody have any other questions about the, how long do they take to rebud? You know what, sometimes mine are getting buds before the old flowers even leave. Like, there's something about this spot here that my orchids just thrive in this spot. Yep, the Cosmo bag, you could make a beautiful tank top out of that, absolutely. Another way to adjust the size on these, let's say once you figure out how big you need to convert for a garment, we'll have to go to another episode to talk about this. You could add more rounds around your squares to make them bigger. Let's see, I'll do this real quick. The spot, okay, let's say that your square, the way it's written in the pattern, let's say it's 5 inches, and let's say to make a different size, let's say to size the garment, you want it to be able to fit a variety of sizes. You may do an extra round around them to make them 6 inches, or you could make one less round to make them 4 inches. See what I'm saying? So you can adjust the size of the motifs with your crochet hook or your knitting needles, whatever you're doing, and your gauge, or you could do it by adding or subtracting rounds to make them bigger or smaller as well. And we could talk about what that means for sizing another day too, but we are out of time. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy day to spend a few minutes here with me. I hope you enjoyed my show and tell and my little lesson here today. If you have more questions, always feel welcome to write them in the comments when we're no longer live, because I get those comments throughout the day and I'd be more than happy to help you if I can. Let us make time to create, share, and inspire today and every day. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and I will not see you tomorrow. Tomorrow I have a special episode for you. Tomorrow, the 1013th episode, is going to be an interview with Kristin Omdahl of The Secret Yarnery. You're going to love it, and it will be live premiered, so we will be live in the chat. I'll be chatting right along with everybody and watching it together. I think if you don't know about Kristin Omdahl of The Secret Yarnery, you're in for quite a treat. She's a fabulous lady, and I'm very excited to be able to share her with all of you. Okay, let us make time to create, share, and inspire today and every day. See you tomorrow for the Krista interview, and then I will see you again for the next episode of the Kristin Omdahl Show on Monday, and I may even have another surprise for you later today. We'll see. Bye-bye.